sure this is connected. Cool. All right, we're
Awesome.
live, baby.
We're live.
Kinda, not really.
Kinda, not really.
Kinda.
That's all right.
Tyler, man,
Yeah,
what
it's
is
good to
up,
see you,
dude? Man,
good
it's
to
been
see
a
you.
minute,
No, you're the
dude.
fucking goat, man.
Oh,
That's
no,
what's up.
you're the GOAT, dude.
Thanks,
You
man.
have balls, bro. You have balls, dude. I mean, so I was sitting here thinking, and I was like, who can I have on that, like, honestly, dude, you're the most, like, what's the word? You're the most,
legendary.
Well, legendary, high-profile person I've had. I mean, you ran for governor,
That's
dude.
right.
That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So what led to that? Like, tell me how that all started.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go to North, you know Mr. Meyer, and you know the amount of homework he assigns, and so I was, of course, like, man, I really don't want to do this AP Physics homework, and so I'm just like, my friend texts me, and friend Jack, who also ran in Wichita, and he says, you know, there's actually no age requirement to run for governor of Kansas, and we're just kind of like what in the world, we might be able to do this. So I shut down my physics homework,
Right.
and I go to the Secretary of State's website, and I'm like, this can't be real, and then I'm like, oh, I just ended up registering to run, and then first thought it was like, this will be cool, I get like 10 people to vote for me, and then a few days later I get a call, and it's from this from a woman reporter from the Hutchinson News out in Hutch, and she's like, is this Tyler Ruzich? And I'm like, yeah, Tyler Ruzich, yes. And she's like, I'm like, do you have the right number? She says, well, I'm just trying to reach out to you. It says that you just filed to run for governor of Kansas. And I'm like, how'd you know that? It's like, oh, well, it's all public record. And then so I really didn't know it, but that was my first interview.
That's crazy, dude.
And then that next day I got Kansas City Star, and then Fox, and then...
What were you feeling like in that moment? Was it just I'm just going to see if I can do this? And then were you like, okay, maybe I can, go full in? Was that what it was like?
It was like, at first, I had, when I started getting all the attention, I never thought that was going to happen. I thought people would have been like,
you were just kind of like, this is just kind of a,
Yeah, and I think it was just people, I think people saw that I was just, articulate. I owe that a lot to debate. I knew what I was talking about. I was knowledgeable. I was excited, and I knew, of course, the chances of me, winning the whole thing were low. But I was like, I can win this election without getting elected. I can walk away making a big impact, and
right. It shows that I feel like our generation definitely has a lot of entrepreneurship. I think we have a lot of one thing I think we do lack is there's not enough go-getters like you, dude.
Drive.
There's not enough drive, and I don't know what it is. Personally, I think it's this this poor me mentality that I really think that our generation has developed. Bad, honestly. I don't know if it's the internet. I don't know what it is, but you clearly don't have that. So which is good. What was I gonna say? So you ran. Are you actually the youngest person to actually run?
There was somebody that was younger than me, Jack, who also ran. But I mean, you put us together, and we were both 17 at the time. Right. So, yeah, I believe the youngest person, I think, probably in at least the recent history of the United States to run for statewide office and get on the ballot.
Right, and get on the ballot and get that attention. That is crazy, dude. Dude, you have so much energy. I never realized how much energy. Well, you gotta have energy if you're 17.
Do, man. I owe that to ADHD.
Yeah, well, I think I have a form of it. I don't know. I don't know.
All got something.
Yeah, I think everyone has a little bit, but and you ran as a Republican, right?
I did run as a Republican.
Do you still, and you're what, 19, 20 now?
I'm 20 now.
20?
Just turned 20.
So from 17 to 20, do you still feel like your views line underneath a Republican views?
I think the good thing is that, my views change just about every day.
Right.
I owe that a lot to reading. I'm a huge reader. I read a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's you go look at my bookshelf. That's one of my prized possessions, and you'll see Ayn Rand, somebody who's a lot more further on the right. You'll see Marx there. I mean, I will read constantly things that challenge my point of view, and so that question, right now I'm a registered Democrat now. I kind of feel that the Republican Party, at least nationally, has gone a little bit to the right, just as the Democrats have. And I think if this election goes a certain way, I'll probably end up being an independent pretty quick. But I think there are a lot of really great people in the Republican Party, just as there are in the Democratic Party. People who still do believe in free market economics, who still believe in smaller government, individual responsibility, fiscal responsibility, not spending more money than than we have. That is something that has helped make this country great. Those ideas of of fiscal responsibility and individualism. I mean, that is at its heart what the American ideal is, and so that's I think what pushed me at least to join the Republicans at that time, and now I've got a lot of complicated views about Trump, but I'm a Democrat now, but I'm never ever a down the ballot guy. I vote for Republicans and Democrats.
What are some of your complicated views about Trump?
Well,
if you don't mind me asking.
Oh no, of course. I think that well, one, he's not as presidential, and people really like that about him, and I give it to Trump. I mean, people will say, "Oh, I can't believe he said this," I can't believe he got away with this. He's gotten away with a lot, it seems, but that's who he is.
That's definitely what has drawn people to him.
Because you have had people, really almost for the entire country. I mean, you go back to Reagan, who was much more charismatic. I mean, we have had technocrats run this country, people with, big old law degrees, who are so out of touch with the common man. And now you have somebody who, like him or not, has really, struck a chord with millions and millions of people. Because he's unfiltered. He does not care. That's all right.
No, you're good. You're good.
But, he has struck a chord with millions of people who maybe some of them don't even agree with his policies that much, but there's something about him that they really like. He's energetic, he has no filter, and he speaks his mind. And we haven't had politicians ever brave enough to do that.
When I talk to, and I'm a very modern person. I was raised as a conservative family. So I've changed my views, especially in high school. I felt like I always challenged them because I was like, that doesn't, like, there's some conservative views that I just was like, I don't really agree with that. You know what I mean? And I was like, obviously, I want the economy to prosper. You know what I mean? And I think that's like the main thing that Republicans want to strive for. You're right. That's like the main argument. But there's just certain things that I had to challenge. And one thing that I talked to people was like, well, why do you like Trump so much? And that was their exact thing. It's like, well, he doesn't give a shit. Like, he wants to say what he wants. And I understand that. And for someone to, I understand, and obviously I understand why people dislike him. But, when people argue, I can't believe they voted for him. I can't believe, and I always am like, well, I get your argument of why you don't want him, but you can't sit there and say that, like, you can't understand at all why people don't vote for him. Like, you gotta understand that people want that. They want the unfiltered rawness, and that's definitely what he brings people.
And I will guarantee. And the one thing is, Trump does not really take anything for granted.
No,
and that's part of why he won. I mean, the Democrats took the working class for granted. They took people who voted for Obama maybe once or twice for granted in the Rust Belt, in Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and Wisconsin. I mean, the true working class of America. The Democrats got cocky and said they were going to vote for us anyways. They didn't even go campaign that hard in these states. Trump did not take anything for granted. And do I think his policies hurt the working class? I think they definitely do. But as of now, you go talk to the people in the Rust Belt. I mean, he's their guy. I mean, our jobs have gone south of the border to Mexico. You can go back to Ross Perot and many of the other early predictions about NAFTA and free trade. But I think people want a president that puts America first. And, I'm not going to be voting for Trump in this election, but I think that all presidents need to come forth and say America first, and put America first.
So you said you feel like he hurts the working class. Like, what specific policies and, like, what does he do that you feel like hurt the working class?
You just got to go right back to the tax cuts that he did. There's a...
it's really just helping out...
The guys at the very top.
Right, that's what everyone says, for sure.
It's that failed idea of trickle-down economics, We've seen it before. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right. It's certainly marketed very well, but I don't think I'd be wrong in saying that there might be some people at the top who take that tax cut and say, you know what, now I can hire more people, but that is a very, very small minority. When you give people like that a tax cut with more money than they know what to do with, they're going to put it in their pocket, put it in the savings account, go put it in a foreign bank so they don't have to pay taxes
they don't have to pay anything on it.
And then just hold it to give to their kids.
Right, the loopholes. Which that most working class and anybody below that don't know about, those loopholes. No. Which... I've always thought that, like, obviously, dude, there's one of the main reasons why I had you on is because, like, I'm an idiot when it comes to political stuff, but I need to know, and I want people of right, left, moderate, whatever, because I want to know. You know what I mean? I have to learn, and one of the main things about this podcast is I want to get young people a voice. Like, what do we want? I don't care the right, left bullshit. I want to know what we want.
Not left or right, but forward.
Forward, exactly, exactly. And a lot, like, one thing I always hear is, like, a lot of things with kids our age. They always say, "Well, I feel like we should get rid of the two-party system." What do you feel about that?
I probably have a very unpopular opinion of it, and even though I am much more of moderate with you, but I think the two-party system helps to create some continuity in government. If we had multiple parties, our system would be even more unstable. We'd be even more divided. Sure. Yes, a two-party system creates a world of winners and losers, but in life, winners win, losers lose.
For sure.
And politics, unfortunately, whether you want to accept it as a zero-sum game, one side is going to win, the other side is going to lose, and if you win, you got to give it everything. And that's like I go back to the Supreme Court nominee. People are very, very very outraged that Trump would do that, and the Republicans, yes, they're being hypocritical, and yes, I think that we should wait till the election, but like or not, the Republicans were given a mandate. Trump was given a mandate 4 years ago. I think that they should hold true to their principles that they did back in 2016, be genuine, and suck it up and try to win the election and then go that route, and then nominate Amy Coney Barrett, who they recently just did. But you can't blame him. I mean, Trump if he gets this nominee, he will change the judiciary for decades to come. Whether or not, and to that point, he doesn't even have to get reelected if he gets this nominee. When you have a court that's going to be organized like that is, with that many conservative people on the bench, I mean,
it's going to be very, like, one-sided.
It might be one-sided. There will be some toss-up decisions, but the court's going to be lean to the right. For many years to come.
Right, and you're not going to get things that, like, a lot of people want, like, abortion or stuff like that laws that people are trying to pass. Right?
Yeah, but I think it also brings up an interesting thing is, what are Republicans going to do if and when they get rid of Roe v. Wade? I mean, they campaign on it so hard. They campaign on
what is Roe v. Wade? Sorry.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot.
So Roe versus Wade, it was believed decided in the 1970s. I think it was a 7-2, 8-1, might have been 6-3. I don't know, but it was a decision that was handed down, I believe, by the Warren Court, and which was known to be a very, very progressive court. I think it was the Warren Court. And basically, at the time, abortion was basically, the legality of abortion was based on state by state. And then Roe v. Wade liberalized it, and it said that, states can't deny completely access to abortions. They can make some laws to restrict it, but for first trimester, they established the first, second, and third trimesters. So, abortion and the abortion debate as we know it today was shaped by Roe versus Wade, which made it pretty much legal through all 50 states. And Republicans spend so much money trying to overturn it. And yes, that's been something they've been wanting to do, but I kind of wonder is what else are they gonna campaign on when they finally get rid of of abortion?
Well, it just seems like something that like
they milk it too much.
They milk it too much. I hate hearing about it. Like I said, I literally have a Roku and I listen to the Democratic debate. I listen to the Republican debate. Yeah. Honestly, I could or whatever it is. I honestly only listen for like 20 minutes. I couldn't deal with it. You know, they don't speak my language. You know what I mean? And I'm like, fuck. But one thing I always hear with the Republican side is like, yes, they drill into that so much. I'm like, your guys, like I said earlier, I feel like the right is main thing is like, well, we want the economy to do well. Here's everything else. We want the economy to do well. If the economy does well, we can fix other things because we have more money, right? But they drill into stuff like that so much, and I'm like, but like, and when you talk to the average, I don't want to generalize, but the average Republican or average person on the right who's not generally like religious, they usually don't give a shit about.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean about abortion.
I'm very much pro-choice. I'm pro-choice.
Right.
I am religious. I still am pro-choice, but just man, I feel that it is settled precedent. It's been the law for so long.
Right, just leave it be.
It's time to move on.
Right.
Look, you know what? If you're a very moral person, very, very morally conservative, I understand. You see abortion as murder, and you know if it's state-sanctioned murder, then you probably want to stop it, but there are much more pressing issues.
Than just that.
What are we going to do for Social Security when you and me are going to try to retire?
Right.
How are we going to, try to end gun violence in this country? How are we going to bring our country together in terms of racial justice? The abortion debate gets us nowhere.
Yeah,
whether you're on the left or on the right,
I agree 100%.
Nowhere.
Right. It's one of those weird things, and I hate hearing about it, especially with like family and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, dude, look, I probably agree with a lot of things that you're saying, like when I'm talking to my family. I agree with you, but like when you guys bring up stuff like that, I don't care, man. Yeah. Like I don't care what other people do. Generally, if someone wants to get an abortion, fuck it, go get an abortion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I get why you don't. I 100%. I don't. Also, I want to say is that I also understand completely why like someone not even about politics. Someone understands like I just don't think it's right. I understand where people come from when they say that, but I also understand that. It's kind of awesome. If you don't think it's right, don't do it. No. It's none of your business. It's just like if you think eating, and this is probably a terrible comparison.
We'll see. Let's hear it.
Well, if you're a vegan, be a vegan. Don't make everyone else in the world a vegan. You know what I mean? Don't make everyone else go to your. Yeah. You're not. You have your own path, man. If you think it's wrong, guess what? People kill people every day. You don't want to kill anybody. You think it's wrong. Okay, don't kill anybody.
I dated a vegan for a year and a half. She didn't care if I ate a burger in front of her.
That's one of those weird things. A lot of vegans aren't that healthy, man. You ever notice that? You ever notice that? They like to eat They say they're vegan and they eat chocolate all the time because it's technically vegan. I think it's kind of funny.
Man, yeah, I'm not a big sweets person, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's why I'm fat. I got a sweet tooth.
Nah, you're buff. Nah, you're built.
I'm built, but I got this fucking layer I gotta get off.
Got the fupa. That's
got the fupa. That's okay.
The natty belly.
Hey man, that's a natty belly. And it's it's like the dad bod that all the girls like. So that's fun,
the girls
right?
like
girls like the dad bod.
They do, yeah.
I take charge. That's what it is.
Yeah, I see I walk around KU. I'll see the frat dudes. I'm like, damn, these motherfuckers out of shape.
Right, and then they got these hot ass girlfriends. You're like, what are they doing? No,
all right.
Right.
The politics.
Right. Politics. Hey, we gotta get people a break. We gotta get people a break.
We'll keep coming back to the fun stuff.
I was raised in a family that we definitely big believers in the Second Amendment, right? I grew up with guns. I shot guns all the time. I haven't shot guns in, I probably have in the past couple of years, but not consistently in probably like 6, 7, 8 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. But growing up as a kid, all the time. You know what I mean? It's ingrained in my head that I just feel like, I'm okay. I think people should have that right. I understand that there is gun violence going on. What would, let's say you're governor. Okay, let's say won. Let's say you won.
The governor,
Let's say, let's say Kansas is has the worst gun violence, right? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do to solve it?
Well, I'm a huge advocate of people who find things that interest them, people who, just people who find a hobby that's safe for themselves and others. Right. And the thing is it's very, very tricky to tap into the Second Amendment, to tap into gun rights, because you can talk about abortion. There's laws on the books too, but there's not such a thing as abortion culture. Mm-hmm. There's not such a thing as healthcare culture. Right. But there's such a thing as gun culture.
Right, for sure.
Guns are,
for sure.
As you say, you grew up with guns. I mean,
right.
To me, I'll be up forth in front. I'm very anti-gun.
Really?
Really? I am. I'm actually the youngest person to receive an F rating from the NRA. Believe it or not, that organization's long time's history. But I will never tell you that if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're not a felon, and that if you're a law-abiding, responsible citizen, I have no business telling you that you can't own a firearm. I believe, for example, my roommate, Nate, he grew up with guns, mm-hmm. and he is, he's also probably not as to the left on the mm-hmm. issue as I am, but mm-hmm. he's pretty reasonable about it. So I think that what we should do, if I was governor, whatever the scenario, I think there's a couple things. I think one is, the waiting period. I think could be maybe a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. I think possibly nationally a 2-week waiting period would be good.
Does that usually happen as a 2 week?
Generally,
it just doesn't always happen.
Yeah,
right?
We need to make sure that is always going on, being diligent. Right. Because who knows what's in the databases that mm-hmm. they access. Right. We don't want bad people getting their hands on guns. I think the no-fly list is some pretty reasonable, and I also think people who have histories of domestic abuse or have been charged, mm-hmm. Not accused but charged, with domestic abuse, should not be able to get firearms. I think women in particular are a demographic that are extremely vulnerable to mm-hmm. gun violence, by their abusers. Right. So there's that. You could look at certain things, certain kinds of ammunition, but, yes, in principle, I don't think it's the best idea to have, super, super powerful weapons in the hands of mm-hmm. private citizens, but at the end of the day, governor or not, it's not my power mm-hmm. as a person, as a private citizen, or even as a public person to tell anybody they can't have an AR-15, that they can't have a handgun. Right. And, no, you're not going to bring an AR-15 with you to protect yourself. If you're in a possibly dangerous neighborhood that you're walking around.
And you'll be okay.
Yeah, you might just carry that in your purse or something like that, But I feel like the gun debate is very much misconstrued by many people on the left. People just use AR-15s and those guns like that, like it's just a more than sport, Mm-hmm. And for some people, gun culture is kind of a way of life, and all power to them. But I've gone out and shot guns.
Right.
People should give it a try.
Did you like it?
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Fun.
As you said,
it's fun. I like
That's
guns.
awesome.
I like guns. I mean. I like guns as a form of sport, as a form of hobbies, going to activities, and when it's safe. But we do need to, if you have certain kids in the house, should we have laws for safes or where guns can be stored? Because there are a lot of kids who accidentally
hurt themselves. Yeah. Right. See, I understand where you're coming from that, but like when I grew up and noticing the people who grow up, for example, your roommate. Mm-hmm. He would never just shoot anybody.
No.
You know what I mean? Hope not. Right? No. But yeah, exactly. So that he's not. But I always notice that people who are generally raised to handle guns properly, they're never the people you see on the news who do the mass shootings. You know what I mean? For what it seems like. Obviously, I'm generalizing. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? You could have someone who grew up with guns or whatever. But for the most part, and I always feel like we have like a mental health problem.
We do.
Right.
We do. I don't think that, in my view, we might disagree. I don't think that. I think guns, access to firearms, are the contributing factor to school shootings and things like that.
Right.
And there are people who are legitimately mental. I mean, if you're going to go out and commit an
right,
act like that, there's something is wrong with
for
you.
Sure.
And, people are like, oh, well, what about illegal firearms? The thing about guns is there is simply so many of them in the United States. One, it's hard to keep track. And two, it's people have to be responsible about pointing blame, because you know what? Yeah, the gun lobby might be I'm not the biggest fan of the NRA. Gun owners love them. You know what? But I'm not a big fan of how much political power
power it has, for sure. I understand where you're coming from.
So there are instances where people who should never have gotten their hands on a firearm get hands on a firearm legally, illegally. There are kids, like who commit horrible acts, like school shootings, will take their parents' firearms, and at that point, there's not that much you can do. So what we need is to go on both sides. We need to say, all right, well, yes, we do have a waiting period. We need to always make sure that is being followed through on. We need to look at possible modifications of firearms if we need to, revisit those laws, like bump stocks, things like that. But at the same time, we can look at this as an issue of public safety and of public health simultaneously. Yes, we can common sense universal background checks.
Right, for sure.
And then we can also say, well, what factors, that are, why are these becoming such a main problem? It's probably not just guns.
Right.
It's probably that, social media, the oversaturation of the internet, the amount of information and that people get their hands on. Somebody can be radicalized now so easy. They don't have to go across the ocean. They can just stay here and go on their computer and talk with anybody in the world. They could, people now, how much we talk about school shootings. Every school shooting is horrible and deserves national coverage.
Right, for sure.
But when those come up, people get inspired. When there's one school shooting, many more follow within the next 6 months after. So a lot of it is, one, we need universal background checks. Two, we need to definitely fund more mental health programs. And three, I think it's something that at least attests to just how information can influence people to do horrible things, and how even the internet and social media can make people go crazy.
I agree 100%, and I feel like a lot of gun owners would 100% agree with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you said, most gun owners you meet they're pretty cool. You know what I mean? And that's it's the laws.
They're your neighbors. They're your members.
For sure.
Members of my family are gun owners.
For sure. Yeah.
I love them just like I do the rest.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that I feel like most gun owners would 100% agree with you. But it gets it gets misconstrued through social media and everything that, like, if you said you're anti-gun, then all these guys come after you. Well, what's the problem? Well, I want to protect my family and all this and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, no, dude, I 100% think you should do that.
Everybody has a right to protect their family.
Right, 100%. Everybody. Yeah, and see, that's the thing, is someone who's like, well, I have a problem with NRA. I don't have a problem with gun owners. And I think that's the majority of what if you
a lot of gun owners would maybe say, too. I've met 100%. Gun owners who are just like, I'm not a member of the NRA. The NRA doesn't represent next to any close to a majority of gun owners. A lot of gun owners don't give a flying crap, about anything that the NRA is doing. In fact, some of them would probably say that, it gives gun owners a bad look.
Right.
These are just millionaires who are, now the NRA is under investigation. It's probably a pretty political investigation, but it's just business.
Right.
It's a business.
Right.
And the NRA is not representative of American gun owners.
Yeah, I saw one thing. It was Andrew Yang. I don't know if you
I love.
Yeah,
Yang.
I loved it. I love Andrew Yang as well.
I was gonna vote for him if he was.
I was as well too. And I know my family would have been so pissed off at me, but I didn't care. I didn't particularly like the $1,000 a month thing. I don't know enough about it, but it just seemed unrealistic to me for some reason. But we'll get to that. But one thing I wanted to say was that he said his thing with guns was he wanted to like charge the NRA for every act or shooting or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
You don't think that's?
I mean, the NRA is a private organization,
right,
just as all the gun manufacturers are. There are instances where.
It is.
Yeah, where maybe gun manufacturers might be not openly but covertly marketing to illegal markets, black markets, because there's a huge black market for firearms. I mean, huge.
For sure.
I mean, also just go to Chicago.
Right.
I mean, people are like, you can buy a handgun for $25 on 4th of July weekend.
100%.
You know,
I see that, like, there's also this thing with Chicago, for example. I know, and I could be wrong, Illinois has very strict gun laws, right? But they have a really bad problem with gun violence.
Yeah.
And people argue, especially gun owners.
So do we, right here in Kansas City.
Yeah, for sure. And people argue is that I want the gun laws to be more lenient so people can have guns to protect themselves from people who have these black market guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That are modded to.
Right, exactly. You know. Exactly. What would you say to that? Do you I mean, obviously you're not for making gun laws more lenient, right? No, you want them more strict, as in, but I don't know exactly what they mean by lenient. I don't. You know what I mean? It's a broad, right? Because I know you can have open carry here, which to me sounds stupid. Because if I want to get,
well, you can. Well, the thing that also I wanted to say that I also made a big deal on the campaign was about is that you can conceal carry on a college campus.
Right.
And you know, and that's kind of. It makes me just kind of like sometimes I think because when I went to school out in Mass, you know, I'm transferring to KU next semester just because you know I don't want to do all that online stuff and pay tuition. We get to that
for sure.
But you know, I mean that's if you on a public college campus in the state of Kansas, you can classmate right next to you could be
I've heard
having
about
a concealed carry,
which is so strange because KU
in a dorm room.
Right, really in a dorm
I
room?
believe.
That's it's so strange because KU is very to the left, right?
But they also KU doesn't make the laws.
Right, exactly. KU, yeah, for sure. But that's just so amazes me that. Are there a lot of people like pissed off about it, or do people?
You know, I think a lot of people don't even know.
Right.
That.
Well, because there's probably not that many people that have.
No, I mean, I think the law was really created. I mean, the Republicans have a supermajority in both houses of the state legislature, and I believe they controlled the governorship at that time. I mean, it was more of a statement.
Definitely see a dumb college kid drunk doing something stupid, like, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot my gun," and then someone gets hurt, and it's just a big mess. Yeah, for sure. I 100% agree. We need laws.
I mean,
for sure.
I think it's just at least. I mean, some people disagree, and I believe you it, but I mean, I think unequivocally we need to get guns off college campuses, you know, to the greatest extent that we can.
I would definitely agree with that. As pro-gun as I am, and I mean I'm pro-gun as in I grew up with them, right?
Government buildings, hospitals, and schools.
Right.
Keep the guns out.
Keep it away. Right. Right. That's understandable. Yeah, because there was that argument for a while that teachers should have guns.
Oh man.
I don't know how I know you're probably like, hell no.
I think it's kind of funny.
I think it is kind of funny because it's like it's almost like a joke. For one, it's never gonna happen. That would never happen.
I don't think teachers want. I think a lot of teachers don't want that.
Well, exactly. Teachers don't want that responsibility. Plus, what if a kid gets
but they'll give their they'll give their life for their kids anyway.
Right.
You know? For sure. I mean, teachers are great, but to put that kind of responsibility in the hands of a teacher who. To be honest, yes, we can give them training, but it's probably not going to be trained all that well comparatively to someone who's, you know, like we have armed law enforcement, you know, SROs. I mean, members of the law enforcement community in our schools, like that or not, those they are here to at least protect students against that, and it's the job of teachers to keep kids hidden, and to keep kids quiet and everything like that. So. Yeah, I think that there is a. I think that teachers need to focus on teaching and not have something under their desk.
100%. Yeah.
That's just kind of.
Yeah, it's like, I gotta keep track of it. I hope. Yeah, for sure. That is a big responsibility. I know. I thought it was funny when someone. I was like, don't get me wrong. I'm pro gun. I love guns.
If that happened, I would just be. That's for that.
Yeah, I'm for sure not for that. I don't even really say anything to it. I just brought it up because it crossed my mind.
No, it's pretty funny.
Right. It is kind of a funny. You need to do better at school. But no, dude. Yeah, it's yeah, for sure. Yeah. What was I gonna talk about? Oh, yeah. Speaking of policing, I'm gonna ask you this question, and it's a tense question out there.
Sure.
What do you feel about the defunding of the police?
Don't abolish the police. I think defund, not necessarily defund, but reallocate where that money is going. The police budgets are. I mean, we have a local military. By all means.
Right.
I mean, yes, what happened there is what happened here. There were nothing short of what some could call a riot. I mean, they happened out in Minneapolis. It happened in Portland and Seattle, and I think that the police are a very important part, not just of American society, but communities.
Right.
Many people, see police officers as their main ways of their main forms of protection.
Right.
And to those people who believe that is that's what they believe in. I have members of my family who are in law enforcement.
Right, for sure.
Love them to death. I have a problem, I guess, with the institution, and the reason I guess why I would say, I'll even say it. I'm fine with defunding the police. It's that we have had a system of oppression in this country. The race relations are horrible. Just about as bad as they were at times. You could say back in the days of rage in the 60s and early 70s. And when you have an institution that what it seems like still hasn't gotten over its history of, its very racist past. The modern police state was basically modeled after slave catching.
Right.
That is what the institution of policing was and law enforcement was. So I think we need community policing. We need people policing in the communities that they live in. We need to make sure that our police force, if at all possible, looks like the community it represents, so that we just don't have all white officers just patrolling black communities. Police can be important and valued members of not just society,
they need more training
and community. They need more training. They need sensitivity training, and I believe that much of the police's budget is better spent on social welfare programs. Right. Yeah. Feeding the homeless, housing the homeless, public housing, food stamps, XYZ, the reason why we need so much police and why police is such a big deal is, and why crime is, violent crime, and we're starting to see what could be like it's on the rise in this country, is because the communities that police, that we're policing have been subject to, decades of oppression, of suppression as well, and we have not gotten over our racist past. Right. And until we can fix the institution of law enforcement, make it more equitable, make it more representative of the communities that it does in fact represent. Right.
But don't you think that would need more funding? When
I say defund, it's not that we need more cops.
Reutilizing.
We don't need more cops.
Right.
If you want to put more money in the police, maybe I'd agree with you.
Right.
But tell me, how are we going to get them more sensitivity training, bias training? Is there a way we could make firearms, particularly police firearms, maybe a little more safe, so that they can't just immediately,
Right.
But also they're in certain circumstances,
Right.
Do we hire maybe more non-armed officers, community engagement officers, people who walk around. They're not looking to arrest anybody at all, not looking for anybody breaking the law, but are there purely to observe and there to, partake in community activities. I mean, that's what I think we need is not for, when we say defund, we're not saying abolish the police. Some people do want to abolish the police. All power to them. But I think what it says is, instead of just funding, putting, a bunch of officers out there with handguns on their, in these big old, police, cars that they have, it seems like we are paying money to intimidate people instead of paying money to train our officers to engage with the people that they're supposed to protect.
Right, yeah, see, that's what I always feel like for one, no one likes to see the police. You know what I mean? For the most part. No one likes to see the police.
Many reasons.
And a lot of times they are dicks. And a lot of times, like, when I talk to police officers, they're like, well, think of it, of how much shit we see every day, it's hard for us to trust people. And if that happens to you, you're most likely gonna kind of be an asshole sometimes, you know what I mean? Which I understand, and obviously I agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying with, the racism, the bully mentality that a lot of police have, and the intimidation. My thing is, I feel that, like, if we, and I'm not saying put more, I don't know how much they have, I don't know how much money they have. I'm sure they have a lot of money. Reutilizing, instead of getting new equipment and stuff, like I said, if you more training, right? Because even when I talk to police officers, my buddy's dad, he's a police officer, and he's like, dude, we 100% need more training. Oh. He's like, there's people that come in here, they are like, it's like the Three Stooges. Like, they don't know what they're doing, and it's like,
I was working at Hy-Vee one time, and a mission police officer came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, you look like you're in college." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I just got out of college. Like, I just joined the force." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he starts just talking to me about just drinking and doing acid and stuff. Like, this is a fucking mission police officer.
And those ones are pretty bad. Mission police is pretty bad.
I'm just here like, oh my god,
right?
Like I was like, this dude really arrests people for this stuff he's telling me about. So police are people too. When that vest is off, they're just like you and me,
But see, guys like
and
that.
And so therefore, people can learn.
Right.
People can better themselves.
Right.
They're not just meant to be just these stoic, enforcers that just go around looking for people breaking the law. They can change. They can get better at policing. Right. So,
yeah, and that's for sure is more training. It's like, if you reutilize the money, which I don't even know if you would need more money. You probably would, but just have it a longer. I mean, you go into the Marines, you have 13 weeks, right? 13 weeks to become a Marine. I feel like you had 13 weeks.
The hardest training of your life.
Right, and if you had just as hard, I'd imagine that if you had just as hard as training for the police, I personally feel like we'd have less problems. Mainly because if you talk to him, like I said,
that kind of struggle builds character.
Right, it builds character. It builds, if you talk to people who are Navy SEALs, Marines, and I'm generalizing. I generalize a lot.
I know what you're saying.
They talk to you with a frequency, right? They talk to you how you should be talked to with respect. And let's be honest, a guy who's not trained, someone who moves to go get their, their license or their whatever, their warrant, whatever, in their car. Mm-hmm. Oh God! Boom, 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 boom! They shoot him, and then that happens because the cop's scared. He doesn't have training, and he's not equipped for the job.
He uses his cool.
But you have someone like a Marine or a Navy SEAL. With all the training that they have, I highly doubt that would happen to them. If they see someone move to go grab something, no, he's just grabbing his wallet. Oh no, he's just grabbing his permit or whatever, and. You know what I mean? That seems to be the big issue. Someone's grabbing something, and they end up getting shot because the cop he's not equipped for the job. He's scared. And if you're scared, you shouldn't have. For one, if you're scared, you shouldn't have a gun. And if you're scared of people that much, specifically if you're scared of black people that much, you should not be a cop.
A police officer.
Definitely not. And I feel like the way to weed those guys out is more training, because the guys who are going to be like that most likely are not going to complete the training, right?
And
it's not defunding.
It may not even just be defund the police, improve.
Right.
And better the police.
Right. Exactly. Like you said, reutilizing what money we're using.
Yeah.
Like I said, you see a cop with a brand new. It's like, what the fuck? What does he need that brand new car for? He can chase anyone down. He has a radio.
Dodge Chargers.
Right.
They're modded. Like,
right.
You know what?
Don't get me wrong. If I'm a cop, I'm sure I'd be like, oh, this is
and
pretty
then
cool.
they used to drive like what,
right.
like Ford Fusion.
Yeah, Ford.
Like
yeah. Those old Ford cars.
Yeah.
You know, but it's definitely I would take the more training over everything.
Oh,
and I mean, and you look at locations like, you know, you talk to a Casey. From my experience, I mean, you know me back in the day. I had long blonde hair.
Yes, man.
I've gotten pulled over for. I swear to you, he was in front of me, pulled behind me, pulled me over, and was like, you know, just pulled me over, asked me I had weed in the car. I'm like, dude, no, I don't. Like I wasn't speeding. He told me I was doing 16 to 40. I was like, sir, how was I doing 60 and 40 if you were in front of me? Yeah. You know what I mean? So I've had very bad experience with a lot of cops. You know what I mean? And I speed a lot too. So, but I was not speeding. I'd admit if I speeded. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean I remember you'd be out like in whether in Lawrence or Boston. I mean you're just like we'd go out and skate sometimes, and then I'm not even doing anything illegal, and just cops would just
they bother you.
Like,
right.
what are you guys doing?
Right.
Like,
right.
Nothing. It's like. Nothing that involves you
right.
at all.
And it's sad that you have to. One guy I was talking to, he's like, well, he's a big black dude. He goes, cops, I jog every morning, and cops come up to me. He's like, well, not because I'm black, because I'm a really big dude, you know.
Yeah.
And they come up to me, they're like, what are you doing? And my old personal trainer, he used to have a vest on. It looked like a bomb. Yeah. It was one of those weighted vests. Cops would pull him over. He's like, what? Because I'm black? Like he would say it to him, they just go away. But he says. Well, when cops come to me, because he was in the military, he's like, well, cops come to me and they say something, trying to profile me because I'm a big dude. They are expecting me to be, oh man, leave me alone, bro. I'm not, I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But then when they hear him talk and he says, is there a reason for you, talking to me, sir? Or, he says things very, very logically. He said, when they find out how I talk to the officers, knowing what I'm talking about, they get scared because they're like, oh, this guy's not stupid.
Yeah.
Which not saying I don't know how to talk to cops.
Well, no, you
right?
bring up a very interesting point, and it really involves Joe Biden a lot.
Right.
And that's a 94 crime bill. It was a bill, there was a huge amount of violence among teens and young adults in the 90s. It was a really big deal. And so Biden, therefore, he wanted the Democrats to seem strong, supporting law enforcement. And so he, kind of was a big champion of the 94 crime bill. It kind of created this term super predators. And that, it's this stereotype of of just this big black guy who, is, overcome by hyper masculinity, that he can't control his, inner urges, and so therefore he lets it out by committing horrible crimes, just acting out violently, in many different ways. We of course know that's not true.
That's not true.
That's
ridiculous. Yeah.
But the people
some of the biggest guys I know are some of the biggest teddy bears. Some of the nicest guys. Yeah, exactly.
But that stereotype was put forth by some of the people who a lot of people consider allies in this debate. We can't just let people get away with that, because part of the reason why there is that stereotype is because of the laws that we have in place, and a lot of it is the history too. But then you just, everybody say, oh, it's Republicans that don't want to do it. Republicans are just as guilty as the Democrats in this, and so many people on the left, will look at somebody like maybe Joe Biden, or, somebody like, Ed Markey in Massachusetts, some call them progressive champions. But when they have created they have created the system of mass incarceration, modern mass incarceration, the new Jim Crow. Right. I mean,
it's literally a racist law. Yeah. I mean,
Joe Biden is quite literally, he's the champion of the new Jim Crow, and he won't walk back on it. Right. And so I think it's what that message is that those stereotypes originate from people in power. They originate as well from people in history, white people in power, who will never have any idea what it's like to be black in the United United States. You and I will never have that feeling. No. But instead, it's legislating on stereotypes. In some cases, it's policing based on stereotypes. And so, that story you bring up just shows that stereotypes are very prevalent.
For sure.
And they're very dangerous.
Right.
George Floyd, for example. There's a lot of stuff that could be going on before it, but this man was lynched. Quite literally murdered in cold blood right there.
Right. Yeah, you have
they drove him to the point where this big strong guy was just breathing his last breath, calling out for his mother who wasn't there. It's so barbaric.
Yeah, for sure. Well, when you're handcuffed like that, man, I don't care how big you are. You're not in your face down. You're not getting up.
No.
There's no heart. You're
all power that could be exerted over you has been exerted.
There's no reason at all.
There's nothing more that they had to do.
And putting a knee on someone's neck is for sure. That is so excessive. And I got so irritated with the people who were like, well, actually you had a heart attack. I was like, dude, let me put my knee on your neck.
Yeah.
For 3 minutes. And see what happens.
7 minutes or something?
Yeah, was it 7 minutes?
Like
7 minutes.
I remember
even
watching,
3 minutes would probably kill somebody.
That video with my grandma first time. I think it was like my friend Gordon or somebody in Boston.
Yeah, it was sick.
It was just like, almost started crying. I was like...
Oh, I teared up for sure,
yeah. When I started hearing him just scream mama, I was just like...
Yeah.
How could any person ever be driven to that point? Other than they're just murdered in the streets. Everybody was there saying like, you're literally killing them.
Well, that's the thing about the right, and I on these podcasts I've bashed the left a lot, but
left should be bashed.
Well, left should be bashed a lot for various reasons.
Various reasons.
But the right, a lot of people who are super right
are very ignorant.
Well, they like to do the thing where it's like
They like to make it about something else.
Yeah, something else. They're trying to make it about something else with the George Floyd thing. I was like, dude. It's plain and simple. I don't care what happened. Like you said, I don't care what happened before that. Yeah, watch the video. He's handcuffed. You don't need to put your knee on his neck. It's ridiculous. And I hate he did this, he did that. It doesn't matter, dude. I don't care what he did. I don't care who he was. You don't put. He was handcuffed on the ground. There's nothing he could have did. No harm he could have. He's not breaking out of those handcuffs. I'm sorry, that's not happening. And I don't know. It is definitely ridiculous. On the right side, I hate when they make excuses. And like I said, I was raised conservative. I don't consider myself conservative by all means, but I was raised that way, and it hurts seeing some people just don't understand. I don't even know if they understand. They like you said, they make those excessive excuses that make no sense. It's like, well, you're using these other excuses for...
Yeah. What both sides of political spectrum, in this case, looking at the right, it's the left is accused of too, is facts only matter when it's convenient.
Right. Yeah, it's only when it's only on your side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's both that do that. It's ridiculous.
But also, why is the murder of George Floyd have to be about sides?
Right. It shouldn't be... It's funny because this was all the way I brought this up. Well, in the first 2 weeks, it seemed... all set up. It seemed like everybody was Republican, white, black, Democrat, whatever the fuck you were. Yeah. Everyone was like, this is fucked up. Everyone I knew said this. But then give it 2-3 weeks later, got politicized, got divided by everybody. I'm like, how can we divide so much about with Republican, Democrat, even the fucking mask thing got politicized. I'm like, dude, just why do we gotta make this political? Why can't we just look at something and because the first 2 weeks of the George Floyd thing, like you said, everyone was together. Everyone was united, and it is sick as it was. I liked seeing how united we were online because the first 2 weeks it wasn't. There's been instances where I get driven crazy where something happens, people are like, fuck white people this, white, and I'm like, dude, you're generalizing. We're a problem too. Everyone's a problem, right? But you're generalizing, and it just makes a bigger divide when people do that, I feel like. When you just generalize, well, all white people are fucking racist, When George Floyd died, the first 2 weeks of that, I didn't hear any of that. And I didn't hear any Republicans or white, far right white people you make those excuses that they like to make, like, well, if he would have did this, and that. I didn't hear any of that. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, dude, this is messed up. We got a problem. We need to fix it. Right, left, whatever you were. Everyone was together. 2 weeks later, here's the same thing. People on the left were like, yeah.
all this, I mean.
Right.
And that's the thing is, until we get justice, we have to continue saying their names. George Floyd,
right.
Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. We don't say George Floyd's name nearly as much as we used to.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gone. Yeah. Did he get justice?
They were charged, but it's going to be a long time as to where they're convicted. And and that's also the thing is, you know what? We got to be pissed off if he doesn't get justice. We got to, if going out protesting's your thing, you know what? Go out, do that. You know, I mean, it's if you're a little more to yourself, yes, it's good to get out and be active and to learn, but it's important to say something about it, and then it's important to tell your friends that you want justice on this particular issue.
Sure.
So people say, oh, it's overrated. It is easy to, but post on social media.
Right.
I mean, post their names on social media. I mean, yes, this is something that has been going on for a long time.
Right, for sure.
Go back to Rodney King.
Right.
I mean, go back anytime. Right. Since this country's founding, there has been a horrible brutalization by the government against African Americans. And
right,
so,
for sure.
There needs to be, I think, two parts of it is, one, we need to look at this as, a not just systematic transformation, but it has to be substantive. If we're gonna change, we need to make sure it means something, and we need to know who and why we were brought to this.
Right.
Rodney King, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor.
Right.
Those were, albeit innocent people who were brutally murdered by people who were supposed to be protecting them.
Right.
But the system itself betrayed them. And has betrayed millions of African Americans for years. That's why we have mass incarceration in this country. So we need substantive transformation, substantive justice, but we also simultaneously need to say their names and make it about the victims, not about I'll say the murderers.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy how we just get off of it so quick, and it's crazy how like we were just talking about how we were all about it first 2 weeks. We're all about it. And now it's just like, I feel like if we didn't have those outliers of people who are like, what, to make the excuses, that I feel like is what makes it so hard for those people to be charged, right? Yeah. Because you have so many people like, well, actually, like, no, dude, you saw the video, you know what happened. Not even just that, with all the other names, you know the story, you know what happened. We need to be on the same page about this. And it sucks that we're not on the same page, because everyone has their own opinion, but when something is clear and concise, it's like, come on. You know what I mean? For sure. The Breonna Taylor thing, I keep hearing different stuff about that, though. I keep hearing a lot about that. I don't know.
The officer was charged with wanton endangerment. 5 years in prison. He could face.
Right.
Which is dressed in plain clothes, dark of the night, they're going to look like home invaders. Yeah, I'm going to protect myself.
Well, I heard, because I keep hearing that, like, the cops supposedly knocked.
It was a no-knock warrant.
It was a no-knock warrant, but there was a witness supposedly that said that they knocked, and the guy supposedly, but the guy supposedly didn't hear him, and then they came busted in. And then obviously he thought that they were someone else, or maybe he didn't. I don't know. and he shot at him, and then they shot, missed, and hit Breonna Taylor, which is awful, right? Because if I shot someone on accident, I don't know what the charges.
I would probably be charged.
I'd be in jail for life. Yeah, for sure, for manslaughter, for sure.
Yeah.
But if that was the case where they did knock, and if they did indeed knock, and he didn't answer, then they bursted in. I can understand where there's like there's a lot of different variations.
The facts of the case are always important.
Right, for sure, because the media just was like, well, Breonna Taylor got shot in her sleep. Well, I don't know. Was she? Was that true?
I'm not sure. You know, I'm not as probably
I wish I knew, because then I could actually form an opinion on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's difference too. I mean, I'm sure on Wikipedia or reading an article, you can find the quick story. But I am very, very glad that she is that she is, at least so it seems. I hope that the additional charges can be brought, but we didn't get to see the death of Breonna Taylor. We got to see the death of Ahmaud Arbery, the death of George Floyd,
for sure.
That's many other, innocent black men and women.
Right.
It's it's right there in front of us.
Right, for sure.
We just got to get up and we got to do
it. For sure. Yes, for sure.
Boomers don't want to do anything about it, but I think people our age, for the most part, are pretty united, even on the right and the left. I think it's people in charge, people who are older,
split us apart, for sure,
and who naturalize it, say, well, this is how it is. No, that is not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be like that, right? Well, yeah, that's the thing. I obviously 100% want justice for Breonna Taylor. Yeah. I want to know the facts and what happened. I don't know. I understand. Like I said, I understand. I understand where people come from when stories and media and bullshit just gets misinterpreted. I mean, it sucks that we have the media now on social media just fucking everything up, saying one thing, then you hear another thing, and you just don't know what's real and what's not.
I'll go on Twitter some days, and I'll just be like, my day is ruined.
Right? Yeah, because it just says something. You're like, wait a minute, what? Because you hear one thing, then you hear another thing, and it's just like, I don't know. It is like there's so much misinformation. Yeah. Right. There's so much misinformation, but I 100% think that she needs justice as long as with all the other people, right? 100%. And I think, like you said, I think most people our age agree with that. I just think that media, social media, tears us the fuck apart. I think when, like, for example, you say an anti-gun, you could say something, and then I could take it the totally wrong way and be like, well, he fucking is anti-gun. You know what I mean? But then when we sit down, that's why I love this, because when we sit down and talk, you're like, oh, that's where he's coming from.
Yeah.
When you write something down or type something down or tweet or whatever, it gets so misinterpreted.
You're talking to a screen.
Right, you're talking to a screen. It's like, what the fuck? And it gets so... It's like that Key and Peele skit when he keeps sending text, what I'm talking about? He's like, what the fuck is he telling me? Like, he's getting pissed off. And it's like, that's why I love these... I want to have as many people as I can with who are knowledgeable and who are reasonable people who can get out and say what they have to say. Because, you could post something totally harmless and totally not what you meant it. But then the media takes it and just blow, or people can see it on social media and just blow it up and be like, no, that's not what I meant. And that goes for both sides, right?
I think the best way to explain the divide is that Republicans think they're more American than Democrats, and I think Democrats think they're smarter than Republicans.
Yeah.
I think we're all Americans. There's a lot of stupid people out there, but there's a lot of smart people, a lot of people with a lot of great big ideas. And I do believe, in that idea of the market, not quite the marketplace of ideas. I wouldn't go as that far. There are definitely some ideas that, don't deserve attention, that are, undeniably bad, but, and bad to discuss. But, like guns, you come from... a family that sounds like we're very deeply entrenched in gun culture, and it wasn't until I was maybe 13 or 14 that I shot a gun for the first time, and a 12 gauge put me on my ass.
And they'll kick you back.
Yeah,
They'll kick you back.
And so yeah, people just look each other at just their views and views only, but when you do give context to yourself, to others, you understand.
Right. Yeah.
You can read someone's views, but unless you know where you're coming from, you don't understand what someone's trying to say. For sure.
I was talking with someone a while ago, and they were like bashing someone, and it was, I watched the video, and it was a podcast or something like that. I can't even remember what it was. They pulled it up. They read the headline. I said, well, you read a fucking headline. You didn't watch the video. You don't know what he was talking about at all. You don't know. You go watch the video, and then you can form an opinion. Otherwise, don't, there's a lot of headline readers out there because people are lazy. They don't want to go and look into something. They just want to see it. Well, now I got an opinion, and now I'm right. And that's the crazy thing is people don't admit they're wrong. Ever. You know what I mean? People don't ever want to admit they're wrong. Especially when you make a fucking status saying something, saying whatever, and then it turns out that's not true. Then you're like, well, no, that's not wrong. I was right. I'm never wrong. You know what I mean? And I don't know. But that's always I think it's a natural human.
It's part of the human condition.
Yeah, we can't be wrong.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Of course.
Hell yeah, dude.
Crazy.
I know, dude. I try to get off social media as much as I can.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bad for us. It's so horrible. It's so addicting.
What do you feel? It is addicting. What do you feel like with and I like I said, I always feel like the media it seems like it's predominantly left. Right? Would you agree on that?
I'd agree that I think a majority of newspapers are very well balanced. I think it's mainly the editorial boards. Like, the New York Times as a newspaper, the Washington Post newspaper, great papers, some of my favorite papers. Yeah. But then you go into the editorials where those are people who are paid to write opinions, Right. So, definitely newspapers, editorial sections, some of them lean to the left a little more, like the Boston Globe leans a little more left. The Boston Herald leans a little more right, Fox News, for example.
They're very far right.
What I'm a big viewer of, when I get a chance, I'll watch Fox News on Sunday with Chris Wallace.
Really?
He's going to be moderating the first debate, I believe. He is very, very well balanced. You also got people like Brett Baier too. People who
Brett Baier he's on.
He's
CNN.
on Fox News.
Oh, he's on Fox.
News,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of just plain looking guy. I don't know. You'll see him and be like, he looks like a Brett Baier.
Yeah, Brett Baier.
And those are, just stuff like that. I don't bother with any of the editorials. Right. Sometimes I watch like MSNBC. Obviously MSNBC goes to the left, leans to the left on, that. But most of the times when you watch on Sundays, watch the weekend, so like watch those networks, they're like morning news shows, are generally really good. Right. And yes, some of them will be like, for example, Morning Joe definitely leans so much to left. It's my favorite political news / talk show. They bring everybody on. Right. They bring everybody on there. Guy's a former Republican, and then the female host, also his wife's, Democrat, I believe. So, I think that the media is not left or right. The media is just plainly biased. Yeah. It's biased, sure. That has therefore led to us living in these ecosystems, of our own, where, back then my grandma always tells me, well, there were only like 3 channels, or back in the, the 80s or 90s, people just got their stuff from Peter Jennings, Tom Brokaw, Dan Rather, 3 guys, on CBS, ABC, and NBC. Those were where everybody watched. Everybody would be there and just sit down for the evening news, and everybody was on pretty much the same page. And so there was no reason really to cater to the left or the right, because everybody was listening. And now, not everybody's listening to the same thing. I think Barack Obama put it very, very great when he said, if you watch Fox News, you are living in a entirely different America than somebody who watches CNN or MSNBC. 100%. It's the news. It is what we're being told is what's going on. And when you put narratives into objective fact, it doesn't become objective fact anymore, right?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. One thing I'm in love with podcasts, dude. And it's
There's
mainly,
some great ones.
Well, it's mainly because, like we said, is
you ever heard of Cumtown?
No.
Great podcast.
Sounds funny.
It is.
Is it funny?
Yeah, they're
How's it spelled?
It's C-U-M.
C-U. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The slogan is it's about being gay with your dad.
Being gay with your dad. That's funny.
That's not what it's about. But it's these guys are pretty they're all pretty left wing and they just shit on everybody.
Right.
And it's funny. I mean, and that's what we need. Honestly, like
100%.
we don't need to hate. Sometimes we just need to get shit on.
Yeah, and it's like
people need a reality check.
When you look at news, like Fox or CNN or something like that, they talk in such scripted. You know what I mean?
It's you and I were having a conversation.
We're having a conversation. You can get
relaxed.
Right, exactly. And it's just more. You get so much more out of it than what you would out of some scripted bullshit and people and even the
it's
debates.
Got substance.
Yeah, you know when I watched the Democratic. What is it called? Is it convention or what was it?
Where they were all speaking.
Yeah, speaking.
The convention.
Yeah.
The DNC.
Yeah. There was a younger black lady, and she said, I love what she said. It was like the first 5 minutes into it. She goes, "Look, I don't like Trump. Obviously, no one here does. We're at the Democratic convention, right?
Yeah.
I know how bad Trump is. I don't like him. So if all we're gonna do is talk about how bad."
Oh yeah.
That side is. I'm gonna go. I don't want to be here. I was like, woo! I love that because it was like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about what are we gonna do? I want to know what she's like. What? How are you gonna get young people to vote? How are you gonna get young Black Americans gonna vote? I want to know how you're gonna do that.
And that's the thing. That's like in my campaign. I very much I was not left, not right, but forward. But I wanted to run a campaign where I wasn't running against somebody or something, but I was running for someone. I mean, and that's the thing about Biden, where I don't know who I'm gonna vote for. I'm not voting for Trump, but I really don't think I'm gonna vote for Biden. And a lot of people give me shit for that. Say, oh, well, it's support an election. Also, remember it's Kansas. We live in. If you think Biden has a chance in Kansas, you're crazy.
Right.
And
exactly.
You're crazy. But I'm gonna vote my values. Mm-hmm. I'm probably gonna vote for the Green Party. That's because I'm a little more liberal. I'm not 100% progressive. In the all sense of the words. But there are definitely social programs that I do support.
Right.
So and that is we used to have that where it was about substance. It wasn't just about style. Instead, you just have Trump holding all these big rallies, making a big deal like, oh no, no mask, whatever.
For sure.
And then
Biden's ridiculous.
Biden will grandstand himself. Everything's scripted and but they're not. I mean, Trump does a better job of Biden telling you what the hell he believes in. For sure.
Trump. I feel like Biden doesn't seem like he's very equipped for the job. I'm not voting for Trump and I'm not voting for Biden. I'm with you. Yeah. And people get mad at me when I say, they're not going to vote. I'm going to vote for third party.
Well, it's the Biden people that get mad.
It is the Biden people that get mad.
People are like,
I've had a couple Trump people that get mad.
Yeah, be mad, but it's mainly the Biden people. They cannot stand. Literally, it's like that's most of the people on the left is they cannot stand a damn independent thinker.
Yeah, I have an easier time talking with people who are a little more right than a little more left. It's not saying a little more. I'm saying as in the fars. If you have someone who's like very right but he's reasonable, or someone's very left but they're reasonable. Most of the time, I feel like I'm gonna get someone on the right. They're okay with me disagreeing with them. Where someone on the left, they really don't like when I disagree with them. I'm like, man, we're just having a conversation.
Why do you care who I vote for?
Right, exactly.
Why the hell
or
is
care
it
if I
even
don't
your
vote.
Business who I vote for?
Right.
We have the secret ballot in this country for a reason.
Yeah.
So that we can't be punished for voting for
whoever. And it kind of drives me nuts seeing, and I understand this is America and we have a privilege to vote. I just hate seeing people keep posting it just seems like a mob mentality, man. Trump,
the whole
Biden,
register to vote. You cannot get on social media for like more than 30
without
seconds
someone.
Being like,
you need to vote for Biden. You need to vote for
you need
Trump.
to register to vote. You know all this stuff.
I'm like,
it's
fuck off, dude. I'm eating a sandwich, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, and I get it. It's important.
I got cheeses on my finger.
Right, exactly. Well, I get it's important, 100%. I get it's important. I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But how about? Well, I actually would rather have that of you guys need to go. Not even just register to vote. Look into what fits your values. Say that. Say
vote your values.
Right. Vote your values. Say that
because
that could be a
yes.
Exactly, because it's like then I would see that.
Don't just vote. Be a voter. If you're just voting for Biden to somebody else, you're not a voter.
You're not a voter.
And you don't believe in what you're doing.
Right. 100%.
Stand up for yourself.
100%. I agree. I think. Well, it's just like I said. It's mob mentality.
If you don't like Biden, don't vote for him.
Right.
If you don't like Trump, don't vote for him.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, it's part of your values, man. And it's I hate seeing you got to vote for Biden, and if you don't, then you're for Trump. Well, no, not really. I just don't want Trump or Biden. You know what I mean? Like it's like I just don't want that. Well, and I've had people, you see it more on the left. I've actually seen it on both a lot.
Oh yeah.
I've seen it on the right. A couple people are like, you need to vote, Luke. You need to vote. And, we can't let Biden take over. I was like, I did the big eye roll. I was like, yeah, okay. But inside, I'm like, man, how about you just tell me, Luke, vote for your values. Vote what you want. Leave it at that. Don't tell me to vote for Biden. Don't tell me to vote for Trump. Don't try to persuade me into voting what you want to vote.
Let the candidates speak for themselves.
Yeah, let them speak for themselves, and you vote. You go vote for who you want. Yeah. I don't want to vote for who you want. I want to vote for who I want.
And then also the people act like this election is going to be, if Trump wins, the end of democracy. We have a constitution.
Right.
A constitution that's
the right feels like that too as well.
That's right, like that. Like that. I mean, we have a constitution that is on purpose very hard to change.
Right.
Sure. It is very hard. It takes a long time to add an amendment or change the constitution.
Well, it's just like, besides the whole COVID thing, a lot of people will act like. Will act like it's not going to be any I feel like it's not going to be any different the next 4 years than it has been. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
And maybe it's different if another whatever. You know what I mean? It's not gonna, if Trump wins again, I feel like it's just going to be another Trump 4 years. You know what I mean? And people argue about the COVID thing. I feel like that was kind of not out of his control. I do think he shouldn't have. I don't like how he because I feel like he said that, you don't gotta wear a mask, no mask thing, because he knew who his viewers were. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he knows his audience, which makes him a fucking genius to me. Which, like I said, I'm not a Trump supporter by all means, but I think he's a genius in that sense that he knows how to persuade people. He finds out. I mean, look at him. He's on social media. He looks on social media.
That's a big thing too. I mean, rarely have we ever had a president be able to talk this directly with the American people before.
Well, he sees people on the right saying, I don't want to wear a mask, and he goes, oh, okay, well, I see where my people are, so guess what? Fuck the mask, no mask at a Trump rally, none of us are wearing a mask, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, dude, and I don't know if the masks help or not, but if we gotta wear a mask to fucking get this over with, let's just wear a mask, man. Right. You know what I mean?
I want to have a fucking party.
Yeah, I want
to
have fun.
I want to have fun.
I want to get it over with. I like seeing people smile. I hate seeing people on edge. It's the COVID thing definitely made so many people on edge, man.
I remember I've been to the park sometimes, and then somebody was just like yelled at me because I was in their way, and it's like I think COVID has really people have 100%. Forgotten how to talk to each other.
Well, because we're so cooped up.
Oh yeah.
And I know people can argue, well, we're really not that cooped up. Well, but we don't. We do the thing. We get in. We got to get out. We don't.
So much of our life has changed.
Right. We don't dilly-dally around a store anymore. We got to do this. We forgot a mask. It's like, and the fact that you're not, dude. I really 100% believe the fact that you're not seeing people smile, man. You just see.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you see someone smile, it puts you in a better mood. When you see someone laugh, it puts you in a better mood. You don't see that anymore. You know what I mean? And it's definitely bringing. I just feel like it's bringing everyone down. Some people are out of their jobs.
You know? I mean, people are out of a job. It is It's a really difficult. It's a
crazy time.
It's a hard time to, well, one, be in college, be our age. When
right.
You know, I mean, that's why I feel like, you know, I've talked about it with, you know, my roommates, my friends. Is, you know, I feel like this age between like the juniors, like the people who were seniors in high school last year, basically everybody in college and now, and like, you know, the high schoolers and like the seniors in high school, dude. Their senior years of high school and their years in college, or like, you know, into adulthood, have been completely altered. When this is a time where we're supposed to be indestructible, where we're supposed to, you know, 100%. Go out there and you know, get ourselves hurt, scrape our elbows, scrape our knees, you know,
get it all out of the way.
And I mean, and just have a good time and let loose and learn about ourselves, and then. We're here and we're just kind of alone with our thoughts.
Right, exactly. It is.
It's about, man, imagine the stuff I could be doing.
It's already. I had one of my first. Actually, my most. Not that I try not to care too much about views because I want my podcast. I want to be authentic as hell.
Yeah,
but
this authentic as fuck.
For sure.
In the bedroom right now.
Hell yeah! I know I've changed my settings because you know my locations have keep changing. But
that's all good.
Right, but What was I gonna say? What were we talking about? Yeah, I kind of got lost. I lost my train of thought. Let's see, COVID. Goddamn, what were we talking about? I kind of lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, the views. I talked about. What did I talk about? One of my most viewed podcasts, or my most viewed podcast, was talking about. Fuck, I forgot what we were talking. What were we talking about? Oh, how difficult it is to be our age, man.
Oh,
like not even like I mean, you just tapped on it. Like, in adding COVID on top of that is terrible. But you know, the thing is, man, being 21. I mean, you ask anybody who's 21, we don't know what the hell, or even younger, right out of high school. That gap
21.
Is the most. Oh hell yeah, dude!
I know. I'm 20. I'm just older.
Well,
now. I'm just like.
You don't. Well, the drinking thing. It's like, well, I can do it legally now, so it's not, you know, so whatever, but
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter regardless, but no, dude, it's just such a difficult time.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't know what you're doing, you're scared, you're not fully understanding yourself. Like, you know yourself, but you'll know yourself way better at 28, at 30, you know, and you're constantly learning, you're constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to, like, you know, you might have been, awesome in high school, or you might have been nothing in high school, and now you're completely different, you know, and your early 20s are just this year to, like, you just gotta, you gotta be, for one, you need that mental health.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, you gotta go get it, and if you have an idea, you just gotta go do it.
Drive. This is killing the drive.
Right.
Of, like, people our age.
Yes, it is. The COVID thing is definitely killing the drive.
But also, there's exceptions, like, I mean, our friend Marty. I mean, you know, he's out there. Dude. Shout out Marty.
Hey, yo, Martian. Dude, Marty. I heard him. It's crazy you say that. I heard him progress. I mean, he's one of my best friends, man, of all time.
Well, I had marketing with him in Father's
Day. I told him you were coming on. He's like, God, that dude's going to do something to go viral. I started laughing. I was like, hell yeah, he is. That's why I want him on here. Yeah. But, and I'm trying to get Marty on here. He's just been very busy. He's got some stuff going on. But
he's a hard-working man.
Yeah, he is. Oh, God, he is.
You got Tanner on here, too?
I've had Tanner. I have a couple with Talbot. We just haven't posted them yet.
Talbot's my man.
Talbot's hilarious. Yeah, Talbot's hilarious.
Talbot.
And I'm trying to get other people on there.
You need to bring Cole on here. Good old Cole.
I do. He loves to argue. That's why I love having him on. I should have had both of you on to watch you guys debate. I saw that. You guys. I know. I was supposed to go with you guys actually, but I was stupid and I just didn't. I ended up not taking.
Dude, I was kind of like there. I was like, this isn't the best decision of my life, but like, no, we were just there, just like slamming daddies in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, dude.
Just tailgating at a Chiefs game. We're like, this is interesting.
Right? Yeah. Tailgating at a Chiefs game is amazing, dude. And that's one thing I love about the Midwest is we have that culture of
we're fucking Americans.
We have that culture. There's nothing wrong with it. I love going to a Chiefs game, man. It is fun. Like
fucking getting mad at people.
Was there a lot of people there?
There was like almost 20,000, I think. You know, so it was really spaced out. It was really spaced out.
Well, I went to a Mizzou
Everybody had like pretty much like 2 rows to themselves.
Right. Well, I went to a Mizzou game last night.
Oh, for real.
And it was very spaced out, probably, I don't know how, I'm terrible with estimating how many people are there. I could say 1,000, it could be 20,000, I don't know, or it could be 500, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was very it was kind of a crappy game. It was fun just to go down, at like being a road trip and all, but like it was very spaced out. You had to have your mask on. The only time you can take your mask off is to eat. But I'm guessing at the Chiefs game they don't care.
Last night, the KU game, like there were a shit ton of people there.
Really?
None of them wearing masks.
Yeah.
It's Texas, you know.
Oh yeah, it's Texas. They don't
culture,
care.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, it's
well, Missouri, they definitely are strict about it, but I'm guessing the Chiefs game they weren't.
You had to wear a mask.
You had to wear a mask.
You had to go in there. You had to wear a mask. You know, there were people like at every door that were holding a sign saying maintain, social distance. Always wear a mask. Everything like that. You could only put it even when you were sitting outside. You know, you could only take it off when you were eating.
Right.
You know, so when we did a picture like Casey Wolf, whatever, and like everybody had to wear a mask. You know, of course, and they're doing that. So it's I think. All into truth and all, it's probably not the best thing to have live sports right now.
Right.
You know, like or in person. You know, allowing attendance. You know, football's still fun. It's definitely weird to watch it, but you know, maybe not the best choice in the world. But I mean, if you can keep that 6 feet and you can guarantee at least most everybody's wearing masks. Not everybody is, but most everybody's wearing masks. And go for it.
Right. It might not be the best choice, but I feel like we need it. You know what I mean? I feel like, especially Kansas City, especially places like Kansas City, Green Bay, Texas, places that love football.
Yeah.
Need and people who
South,
love the NBA.
They need Nick
Saban. College football, especially for the South, but we need. Nebraska needs the Huskers, but we need sports or something to just relieve us. Because I tell you what, the highlight, and I've always watched football, but not as much as I am now. Like I am like almost hardcore watching football.
And plus, it's mostly outside.
Yeah, for sure, it's outside, and I feel like that kind of helps out.
But yeah, like going out, but that's gonna be the thing, like college basketball, like how energetic college basketball games are. I mean, you think about like. You know, Bramlage is great at K-State. I mean, Allen Fieldhouse. I mean, one of the loudest indoor stadiums. Yeah. I mean, you ever go to the game there? It's you never forget it. That's because everybody is just going crazy.
That describes our culture in Kansas City. As it doesn't get talked about.
We're happy to be here.
Right, you know? We're happy to be here, and that think of it. Kansas City's the loudest stadium. We're the loudest stadium, man. We got Rob Riggle is right.
Yeah,
that dude is so from Kansas City. He's
Paul Rudd,
so from Kansas City. Like when I see him, I'm like, dude, that totally makes sense. They're such woo guys. You know what I mean? That like describes us. I love that culture here, man. Yeah, I love it so much.
Dude, people are just happy, and that goes back to Boston, man. I'm sure.
You're from Boston, right?
I'm not from Boston. I went to school my first year in college from Boston.
Where'd you go?
I went to University of Massachusetts.
Okay.
And so I was gonna continue going there if COVID hadn't happened, and I was just like, I don't want to.
How did you like it?
I loved it.
Really?
I loved Boston. It was it's
a culture shock.
It was. I never had to use a train to get to work.
Oh,
okay, or a train to go to dinner. I mean, it's just how people get around is different.
How the accents.
You got some Boston. I will tell you, you got some mean ass people in Boston.
I was.
Oh my goodness, and I'm sure they'll see the.
Right, be a little bit. Well,
they agree. We're gonna call them massholes.
Massholes, yeah. That's what my grandma says. She went to Massholes. Yeah. But you know what's so funny is that East Coast.
Oh, and they suck at driving too.
Do they really? Well, they probably. It's like the city.
The streets are like modeled off of the old like horse and carriage.
Right? Aren't they like really small?
Yeah, they're just like
brick or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
It's like driving around Westport.
God,
it's all
fuck that. That would piss me off. I'd be pissed off all the time. Even though I love Westport.
Yeah.
I love Westport, but I'd be that crowded. I'd be so pissed all the time. But what was I gonna say?
Talking about grandma.
No, not just my grandma. What my grandma said about. Oh yeah, Massachusetts. I was watching this thing last night. I was watching. I don't know if you watch Joe Rogan. I was watching Joe Rogan.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. I'm a big fan. But there's a comedian on there, and they're talking about this other comedian. I can't remember. It was Colin something, and I started watching.
I think I know. Is it a Boston comedian?
He's from New York.
Oh, New York.
And it's genius. He does the whole story of New York through stand-up comedy, and it's brilliant. I didn't get through it all, but it's funny, as you say, they're kind of rude in the East Coast. He explains why we're rude. He's like, dude, you're in New York. I say, hey, give me a slice. Give me a slice. Now, to Midwesterners, they'll think that's rude. They'll think that's rude.
Are you going to say please?
Right, but if I come in like a Midwesterner, like, hey, how's your day going? That's rude. That's fucking rude because you're holding up the line because we gotta go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was a great thing.
And that's the thing is that up east, it's a very much older part of the country, but it's bigger and people more. That means more people are working. More people got to get to work. Therefore, people are in a hurry. But in the Midwest, everybody drives a car. We don't have to worry about catching a train.
Sure.
If we wake up late, we go walk out to our driveway and we speed our way there.
Right. 100%.
We have highways, and things like that. So, we just have car culture here, and everybody can just kind of be happy in their own space, and so instead of just sharing everything, and so. It makes us, I think, a lot more laid back.
Right, 100%.
We're just
100%.
More content.
It's those coasts, right? That they're just like they have that go-getter mentality of like they're out for themselves almost. For sure. Yeah, especially like if I've never been to either, but from what I hear from people talking about, people talk about LA, like so many people are trying to be an actor. And it just makes them like, well, I'm here for myself. I'm here for, I'm here. Yeah. Because I love acting. I do a little acting here and there.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. For Joe Pekin, Joe Pekin.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Joe Pekin.
Shout out Joe, dude. He's a genius,
he's a fucking legend.
Yeah, he's a legend. He's a fucking genius, man. Love that guy, dude. One of my best friends, man.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he is awesome. But I was talking to this guy who's an actor, and he got he played Charles Manson in a movie. He was in Sex and the City. He got up there. He wasn't like he got decent, and I'm sure he has a lot of money from it. But he goes, everyone's out there. Everyone's trying to be an actor. He's like, my dentist had headshots. Like actors get headshots.
Yeah.
He's like, my dentist. He's like, everyone's job career is their second job. My doctor was wanting to be an actor. Doctor was a second job to him. He really wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. You know what I mean? That's just, I don't know. It's funny when he said that. I was like, he's like, so, he talks about how a lot of people come, they just want to be famous. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but you'll get famous if you want to be famous, because then you'll just end up on a reality show crying and looking like an idiot. You know what I mean? But for sure, dude. Yeah. Dude, well, I gotta wrap this up, man. This has been awesome.
That's all right, man. This has been
my man Tyler.
This is my man.
Dude, thank you so much for coming out. Dude,
good to see you.
Take it easy, man.
Yes, my man.